for most of my life, I've heavily relied on friends and family, and I'm glad to have a good support network. But sustainability, it wasn't going to be long term. She basically reached out to me and told me the concept of adaptive clothing, and I'd never heard of adaptive clothing before because when it came to clothing, mum just made clothes fit me, and that's all I really knew about
Yeah.
clothing, really.
What's going on, people? Welcome to this week's episode of Jordan Jarrett-Bryan's The World's Coolest Disabled. That is me. Thank you for joining us once again. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, what are you waiting for? I know you guys are watching it. I know you're watching, so just click it. Just click it right now, subscribe, and then you're in. It's all I ask from you. A little subscription, a like, maybe a little share and a comment. That's all I'm asking for you. Very, very, very simple. Please slap the subscribe button and let's do this. It's the podcast where, you know, by now, I invite people onto this pod where they're doing just some really interestingly dope things. And we want to explore that. And you know what? It's a bit awkward, right? Because on the pod this week, I've got someone who he's really, really not happy with my claim that I am the world's coolest disabled, right? He's not happy. And he's let me know on a couple of occasions that he's not really happy with it. And he wants to come on and challenge. And I'm like, I'm down for the challenge. I am down for the challenge, right? I have this week on the podcast one of the most important voices in the disability space, a massive disability advocate, president of Wheels and Wheelchairs, and somebody that also has driven the runway at London Fashion Week. Big shouts out to my man Issac Harvey. Isaac, talk to me. What are you saying, bro?
Yes, hello. I mean, I'm glad you created this podcast just so I could be on it. And it's just my name altogether. So thank you so much.
Because when I saw you a few weeks ago at NADAX, you stuck it on me like, bro, like you can't be doing this podcast saying that you're the coolest. I'm the coolest. I'm like, well, Isaac, you're cool, but I don't know, But you know what? That's the whole point of today's podcast. Let's work out who is the coolest. All right, let's try
Yeah,
and do this.
okay. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. So to kick off, Isaac, let me ask all my guests, what's your coolness number out of 10?
The coolest number.
Mm-hmm. Out of 10, how would you rank yourself?
Myself, right. You know what? I'll give myself 8.5 because there's always room for improvement.
Room for improvement. I like that. You might even go to a 9 just for the humility as well. But we're going to come back to the end of the podcast and we're going to really work out if it's an 8.5 or if it's lower or indeed even a higher, right? So we're going to come back to that scoring.
Okay,
Listen, Isaac, thank you
okay,
very much for coming on to the
cool.
pod. Um, you're someone that I definitely, I've got a long list of people that I've had that I want to have a conversation with, that just people, as I said in the intro, who are doing some really cool and interesting things, right? And you are someone, as I've worked more and more in the space of advocacy for disabled people and disability issues,
Mm.
I've heard your name so much more and more. People have told me about what you do. So I was like, no, this is someone that definitely I need to get on the podcast. So I want to just start off, Ida, by just asking a little bit about, you know, where your need and want for advocating for disabled people, where that comes from, and why you think it's so important for somebody. Why did it start, first of all? But why do you think it's so important people like you speak up on the issues that are important to you?
That's a very good question because actually I didn't want to be a disability advocate because I never really saw any point in doing so. So, leaving school, I've always been a creative and I've always liked to express that creativity through writing. I did my A levels where I did video editing and I thought, okay, this is another way to express this creativity. And when I finished the studies, I knew from the get-go I just didn't want to do the 9 to 5. I just wanted a way to express my creativity, and that's when I started um, uploading videos to YouTube and filming my adventures and kind of going with the flow with life. So I was filming things such as skiing, skydiving, tall ship sailing, all of these things that I never thought I would ever do, but I was there filming them. But I never really explicitly spoke about disability in these videos because I didn't really see any point to. And friends and family who were watching these videos would say, "Oh, you should really talk about disability because you may be able to change people's perspectives or help people to understand what you can do." And I thought, oh, why do I have to do that for? It didn't really make any sense for me to do that. I didn't really see any sense in talking about disability because I just wanted to be creative. So they kept telling me, and I kept on ignoring them until was given the opportunity to do a public speaking engagement up in Birmingham, where they wanted me to talk about the obstacles I face, but how I still have a very fulfilling life. So I done the talk about the obstacles such as having to plan ahead, having to have support with me, train stations not being accessible, all of these different barriers. But actually, I can still have a pretty fulfilling life when it does work out. And when I'd finished that talk, a woman came up to me afterwards and basically said, I get loads of pains in my legs, but actually hearing your story has really changed my perspective on things. And that was the first time I realized the impact that I potentially could be making to people outside of my friends and family group. So I thought, okay, yeah, maybe I should be doing this. And then I started talking more about disability through my videos, which I know people did appreciate. But I guess the advocacy really did start when I joined LinkedIn in 2021. And I was like, why do I need to go on a professional platform, especially if it's another Facebook? And I ended up joining primarily to talk about wheels and wheelchairs. And I did start doing that because I thought it would be an opportunity for people to know more about us from a more professional level. But then as I started connecting with other people within the community, I learned about Disability Pride Month, a month I'd never heard of before. And I thought, oh, wow, how come I didn't know about this? So I wrote what it meant to me, and that post went semi-viral. And I ended up connecting with a lot of people within the community. And I guess that's when people wanted to just hear my voice rather than just the wheels and wheelchairs, which was part of my life. And yeah, it's gone from there really. All from
There's
LinkedIn, a platform I didn't want to go on.
no, listen, that's interesting. There's so much there that I want to unpack. So for listeners and honestly, there's so many interesting things I want to get into. For listeners and viewers, just tell us, what is the medical name for your disability?
Sure. So my disability is called limb pelvic hypoplasia, which means I have no
Yep.
arms and short legs. I have a weak pelvis, scoliosis, which is the curvature of the spine, and on top of all of that, I have acid reflux.
Okay, and so talk to me a little bit about wheels and wheelchairs. And did you set that up, or did you come on board after that had been launched?
Yeah, so it was a bit of backstory. In Paris, there was a group called Mobionville, and it was basically two friends came together, one who was a skater and another a wheelchair user, and they realized that Paris was very inaccessible. And they started this group to kind of showcase what happens when they come together by roller skates, pushing wheelchairs, and making Paris more accessible. And for one of their anniversaries, they challenged themselves to skate from Paris all the way to London for the 2012 games. So they knew how to get to the edge of France, but they wanted to help from the London team and how they would get from, I think it was not Dieppe, it's well, wherever it is, to get from there to the stadium in London. So they contacted the London skaters and said, look, we want to do this challenge where we want to push wheelchair users on roller skates and the London skater said, "You're absolutely crazy, but you know what? But you know, if you know what you're doing, we'll be happy to help." And I think it ended up being about a 5 day challenge, and they ended up coming during the 2012 games, and all the London skaters were brought them in and welcomed them with open arms, and basically said, "Oh no!" And most of them were quite inspired by it, and they said, "Oh, we need to start something here." And that's when Wheels and Wheelchairs was born. But then I got involved in 2018 after I went to Winter Wonderland in Hyde Park. I went on the ice rink in my electric wheelchair, and I got talking with one of the ice marshals, who we had a good conversation, and he said, "Would you be interested in wheelchair roller skating?" And I thought, I've never heard of this before, but yeah, why not? And ended up going one Saturday morning and absolutely enjoyed it to bits. And then went a week later on a Sunday where it was the Easter bunny stroll, and everyone was dressed up in Easter costumes and was skating all the way around London. And it was like, oh wow, I've never seen London like this before. And I got myself involved very much in 2019. And then at the end of the year, it was the annual general meeting. And I thought, since I was so involved, I better go to the meeting. And they were looking for a new president because when I had started, due to unforeseen circumstances, the previous president had passed away. So they were looking for a new president. Because of my huge involvement and passion for what they were doing, they asked me if I would like to take on that role. And I knew I had big shoes to fill, and I ended up accepting it. And then I became president. And then COVID happened,
Nice.
and I didn't have a good first year.
Well, listen, COVID messed up a lot of people. You know, a lot of people got jobs in COVID, and it's like it ruined it. So you're in a very very big group of people there. Don't worry about that. But I also want to go back to something you said. A couple of things you said earlier on. One being that when someone approached you about speaking out about your experiences and things you had to overcome. One of the reasons why I set up this podcast, Isaac, was because I know there are so many people that have done or are doing some amazing things or just interesting things who have disabilities but don't have the confidence to kind of talk about those things. Now, look, no one's under any obligation to chat about the things they've done. Some people just want to that's totally fine. But the issue that I've had was that people weren't talking out because of choice. They were doing it because they just felt like they had no confidence. So you said that being an advocate and the advocacy work that you do was something that you didn't really want to get into. Was that because you didn't feel like you had the confidence to say, I'm interested in this. This is something I have something to say. I want to speak on behalf of this subject, or was it through choice? Was it just like, I could do it, but I just don't want to do it? Or was it a lack of confidence?
I think for me it was definitely choice because, again,
Okay.
like I said, it was, I've always just had a creative mind, and I just wanted to express the creativity in my head, and put it out there. And with my life, I've come with a lot of obstacles and challenges, and this year still a lot of obstacles and challenges to overcome. But yeah, I just wanted to
Do you
kind of
mind?
get on with life.
Do you mind if I ask? Sorry, do you mind if I ask what some of those obstacles were? If they're private and personal, feel free to kind of carry on. But just interested to know if some of those obstacles might be something people can relate to and take
I,
inspiration from how you've dealt with it.
I mean, obstacles such as not having support in place, to be able to do things where some days I would have an opportunity to do something, but because I didn't have the right support, so I didn't have any support to help me do these things, I would sometimes be left at home, or when I have to go out independently, and because I don't have support, I have sometimes having to be out all day and then not being able to go to the toilet all day can really lose concentration, and all of these different things by not having the right support. And for most of my life, I've heavily relied on friends and family, and I'm glad to have a good support network. But sustainability, it wasn't going to be long term, and I knew it would one day come to a point where I would really have to get support from the local authority. But to cut a very long story short, because it's a lot of layers to it, and if anyone's interested, they could follow my LinkedIn journey about it. But yeah, the
Mm.
local authority, when asking for support and seeing me, because I was at home, it ultimately means I have help because friends and family are there. But actually, my mum is much older and is not able to do the help as much as she wants now. My brother, who's at home, isn't able to do as much. And because I wasn't ticking the right boxes, they said, well, you're not going to get the support. And because it's all evidence based, I didn't have the evidence to show literally what I need.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
just such a backwards way of doing things. And, another thing you have to be weary about is you can't talk about your best day because it's like, oh, well, if you're able to go skiing, then you can do everything. But actually,
Sure,
there's a lot
sure,
of layers
sure.
to be able to go skiing or be able to go skating. There's a lot to it. But yeah, I ended up having to move out of my house this year, which kind of got them to listen. But then I had an awful social worker, and then I had to complain about that. And it's just draining and unneeded, really. When like I say, you just want to get on. But I'm glad I've been able to use my platform in a way that I'm sharing the reality of it, and people, firstly, again, as you said earlier about the confidence, people have commented saying, oh, I thought I was the only one going through this, but actually hearing you, I feel like I can really keep going with the journey. But yeah, and also busting a bit of a myth that because I've done all of these things, most people feel like, oh, I have it all in place, but actually I don't. So it's
Hmm.
a bit of a wake up call for people as
And,
well who realize I don't have it all
and
in place.
and that's important for people to know, I think, as well, that despite that you being a high achiever and done all these incredibly dope things, we are all. I mean, I'll speak for myself. I've done a lot of great things. I'm doing a lot of great
Mm.
things, but I'm still blagging it. I'm still making it up as I go, and many of us are. None of us have got the exact formula to being happy and success. We're all working it out as we go along, and people kind of think from the outside, look at somebody and think, oh, he's got it worked out, or oh, she's killing it. She's got the. But we're all just working it out as we go along. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting that you say that. People come up to you and they make assumptions that, oh, you're killing it, and you are killing it, but that doesn't mean tomorrow is going to be the same day as today. And I think it's important that people kind of recognize that you are just a normal human being like everybody else, just
Yep.
just doing your thing every single day. You make mistakes, but then you have successes like everybody else. So I think it's really important that people know that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yes. And it reminds me of when I've had someone say, "Ah, if I had the opportunity, I'd swap lives with you," and that's because of all the things that I've been able to do. But they also don't realize that the pain levels that come with it on a day-to-day
Yeah,
basis, and the restrictions and the planning and wheelchairs breaking, and you can't carry on your holiday. It's like all of this stuff that they don't realize, like, yeah, I'm doing cool
yeah.
things, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah, no, that does irk me when people say that, and I guess I understand why people say that because it comes from a place of being naive and not understanding. So I kind of give them a little bit of a
Mm-hmm.
pass. But like you said, when people say,
Yep,
"Oh,
yep,
I'd love to swap lives with you," it's like you don't know, you don't just because you see what you see. That doesn't. Yeah, sorry,
yep.
it annoys me. So I can't. Honestly, it really triggers me when
Yeah.
people say that. Um,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
right, so let's chat about some of the things that make you cool, Isaac. Right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you
My
mentioned
favorite part.
earlier on yeah. I've got here that you said in an interview before, from skiing and skydiving to wheelchair roller skating, I conquer life with passion. My approach is simple: accept first, ask questions later. Bad man, bad man, bad man. So let's go. Let's start with this. Let's start with the skiing, the skiing and the skydiving because they're two things that I listen. I'm cool. right? We've established that I'm super cool. I ain't done those things. I'm too scared to do those kind of things. So just talk me through the why, the when, the how of those two things.
Yeah, so skydiving came about because I was given, well, sorry. So there was a charity called the Brentwood Catholic Youth Service who were doing the sponsored skydive to allow young people to go out to a Catholic pilgrimage to help out the elderly. And it's an organization that I've been a part of for most of my growing up, actually. And funny enough, I'm not Catholic, but I've always been involved in that space. But anyway, we were done there. But so I was like, oh, I've kind of always had the feeling of wanting to do a skydive, but actually I wanted a reason to do it rather than just throwing myself out of a plane.
Yeah,
So I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity to do so. They were doing it in the UK. I can't remember where exactly, but they were gonna somewhere in the UK. They were doing this skydive. So I reached out to the skydive place and said, "Look, I want to do this, and hopefully I'll be able to raise money." And they basically said, "Oh," and again, this is the realities of living with a disability. They said, "Oh, because of your disability and health and safety, we don't have that
insurance.
harness for you to be able to
Okay,
do this, and insurance too." Yeah, because they said, it just wouldn't be safe for you to do this. And yeah, so I basically went back to the charity and said, "Look, they've said this," and they said, "Oh well, don't worry about it. Other people have signed up." But then I thought, no, actually, I want to see if I can do this. So I ended up contacting about 12 to 16 different airfields in the UK saying, "Look, I want to do this skydive." And pretty much all of them said, "Oh, no, we can't do it." Went to a veterans charity and asked if they had any leads, and they weren't very helpful. And I thought, okay, well, it looks like I won't be able to do it. But then one of the airfields got back to me and said, "Oh yeah, we can do it, but we would have to get a harness from America who do it properly." And that's when the light bulb moment went off. I was like, I've never been to America before, so how about I find a place in America who might be able to do this? And as me being me, so yeah, I searched online, and there was a place in Ohio and another one in Australia, and I thought, oh, it'd be better to go to Ohio because it would be my first long haul trip. And I emailed them, and pretty much they were happy without even seeing the measurements to say, yep, you can absolutely do it. And ended up traveling all the way to America and did a 14,000-foot skydive, which is 4,000
wow,
foot more than what I would have got here in the UK.
yikes. Yikes! Oh my days! And skiing as well. Skiing something I've never done before, Isaac. Because
Right.
again, I'm just shook. I'm too scared that I'm gonna twist up my leg and I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna break my back and I'm just too shook. So talk me through how that one worked for you.
Yeah, so skiing. So it's funny because my sister, for ages, was did skiing when she was younger. Because there's a bit of an age gap between me and my siblings, and they used to go
Mm,
skiing quite a lot. And she thought, oh, it'd be great for you to go skiing. So how it came about was with the sailing, tall ship sailing. It was like a tall ship which went around for a couple of days, and you would be able to, and it's fully accessible, and so everyone with a disability is involved, but also you have like a buddy system. So you're paired with someone who doesn't have a disability to work with you. They're not like
yeah,
carers, but they're like buddies with you for the days.
yeah,
And it's just a great
yeah.
opportunity from learning from each other and working like a team. And did that a couple of times. And then I got an email saying, oh, the sailing company has now partnered with the ski company to be able to do a trip to Switzerland in Geneva, and to do a skiing trip with like how we do a buddy system. And I thought, okay, this
Mhm.
is great. So I immediately told my sister, And she said, yes, absolutely. So the first day I got the email, I just signed up immediately. I said, yep, I'm in. I didn't even look how it was going to work or what was going to happen. I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. Again, going head first and then asking questions later.
Best
And
way.
yeah, I think that's how I've managed to do all these things. Right, even if the opportunity arises and it sounds cool, why not? So yeah, I ended up going in it's called like a sit ski, and it's there's two versions of it. One where it's someone who controls it from behind on their own skis, and then they're controlling my ski. Or there's one where their skis are attached to my ski, and I'm sitting in it as they control me down. And I did that twice, and that was really cool. Then I made friends with someone throughout that trip, and on Facebook they wrote a message saying, "Oh, I'm looking to do a trip to Colorado to do adaptive skiing." I was like, "Okay, that sounds great." So I was like, "Yeah, sign me up for that too," and ended up doing it in Colorado. The same sort of arrangements and doing and how they did it. But the second time I went, and this was very cool, and I think this is probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever done, is I went in a sit ski that I could control with my foot because it was all electronic.
Oh, dope. That's super dope,
Yeah.
man. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, but I'm not doing it. Like, still not doing it. Like, it's not for me. I'm not doing it. It's not for me.
That's it.
I can't do that. And finally, I want to talk about London Fashion Week because I've seen some
Okay.
pictures as well, right, Isaac? And
Yeah.
yeah, you're looking pretty cool. I'm getting a bit annoyed now.
Thanks.
Talk me through how that came about and what was that like as an experience?
Well, okay, so I'm going to be totally honest here. I was someone who completely mocked the fashion industry because whenever I heard of fashion or saw it, it was people in ridiculous outfits on the catwalk. And I was like, what is going on? I don't want anything to do with this. Because that's the only thing which came to me when it came to fashion. I was like, this absolute craziness that you see on the catwalk. And I was like, yeah, this is not for me. But it was actually from the Disability Pride post that I got connected with Victoria from Unhidden, and she basically reached out to me and told me the concept of adaptive clothing. And I'd never heard of adaptive clothing before because when it came to clothing, mum just made clothes fit me. And that's all I really knew about
Yeah.
clothing, really.
Mum got the
If I
scissors
like
out and the sew and the needle, just made it work, right?
That's it. That's it. I mean, if I like something in the shop, you're like, okay, yep, I'll fix that, and it just made it work. I was like, okay, that's cool. Um, so yeah, that's all I really knew. Sorry, that's all I knew about clothing, and just a term of adaptive clothing. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. So I ended up going to this pop-up shop and talking to other designers and really getting a bit of a concept. And then I went to the last day that the pop-up shop was going to be in central London. And I said to Victoria, oh, I'm going to come on this day. She said, oh, we're doing it this is our last day we're going to be doing it. And would you mind being a model? And I'm thinking, okay, I've never done modeling before, but why not? Because it was in this like small shop with like 40 people there. I thought, yeah, sure, why not? If I'm gonna be there, then why not have the experience? And ended up going and getting to wear some of the designers' clothing it was like that light bulb moment again of okay, I understand now. Like magnetic buttons and zips in different
Hang
places.
on. You're a turncoat,
Yeah.
Isaac. You're a turncoat. You were slagging it off 2 weeks earlier before that, and then tutus now. They're offering you a chance to go on the catwalk with some fancy clothes. Oh yeah. I'll do it. Yep. Where is it? When is it? Look at you. Yeah, I see you. I see
You know what?
you.
That is me. That is me. Yeah. Yeah, you're
We've
not
all got
wrong.
our morals and
Seriously, man.
opinions until someone gives us a check or an opportunity, and then we change our minds
Yes,
very
sir.
quickly.
Yep, that's it. That was me, man.
Sorry, I cut you off there. Go on, carry on.
It's so good, man. um, well, that's why I'm the coolest. You know, I just take the
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah,
just to be cool. You
you're
know.
up there. You're up there. You're up there.
That's
You're up there. You're up there.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, just getting to wear the clothes was just like a bit of a enlightening moment of wow. Actually, I understand how this is so important. Of
Yeah.
clothing just not being accessible to a lot of people. It just didn't cross my mind until I got to wear the clothes itself, and I was like, okay, I get it. And then what really solidified the importance of it was when I went to a show, London Represents, and it was it opened my eyes to the fashion industry because catwalks and shows, because usually, and again, the my pre mind of it was, you know, people, white people, who are skinny models, and they're the only ones who can be seen on the catwalk. But actually, this London Represents show had different disabilities, different races, cultures. Everyone was literally represented. I was like, yeah, this is what we need more of, because it's like
Yeah.
representing what society is. Everyone's different
Mm-hmm.
sizes, everyone's different cultures, everyone's got different disabilities, and we need that representation. And that's kind of led me from one show to another. And the most recent one was getting to support my friend Kat from Seated Sewing, who had her first ever collection, as well as showcasing Braille on the catwalk and on the clothing, which
Amazing.
was like a real moment to see her shine in that way, because for the longest time she's been working behind the scenes, but actually it was nice for her to get that recognition and actually to wear her clothes, which have always made me look so stylish and very cool. It was a special moment to be able to be part of that.
I love that, man. I love that. And just to wrap, Isaac, on the podcast here, we finish by asking every guest the same question. What is the stupidest or most ridiculous question you've ever been asked?
Stupidest. Ah, gosh, you've put me on the spot now. Um, you can't do that to a
It,
coolest
it,
person.
it,
Uh,
no, yeah, it's not ideal. It could be something that's really offensive or just something really weird and bizarre, something a bit left field that you just thought, what? Anything you've heard, it could be a comment that just made you think, get away from me.
to be honest, instead of a comment, I think it's more of an action.
Go on.
And it's a bit of it can be quite awkward at times. And again, I think it comes from a good place, but actually it's just a bit like, oh, that was a bit weird. But anyway, when people kind of either go in for a high five, because you know, I may want to
Yeah.
give them a high five, or put a hand up for like a handshake, and that can be a bit awkward.
And do you think when people do that, do you think that they know you don't have any hands, or do you think they forget and they kind of the natural reflex is to shake someone's hand and then oh, forgotten, or do they not know, or
I
both?
think I think it could be a bit of both depending on the person. Because I
Okay.
think everyone has different intentions. I think it is a reflex to put your hand out to shake someone's hand. Um, but maybe some people can be a bit ignorant. It could be, yeah, I guess it could be both depending on
And
who it is.
and when you say it's awkward, do you think it's awkward for you or the other person, or again both?
Um, for them, yeah, for them, because you know, when you just get used to it, you
Sure,
know,
sure,
it's just
sure.
like it happens
Well,
like every so often.
yeah, no, and I won't lie. I'll be honest. There was somebody that I used to work with years back who didn't have any hands or arms, and on a couple of occasions, I would when I'd come into the room and see him, I would go out to shake his hand, and then you're right. It's very awkward for the other person, i.e., in this case, me, because then you kind of have to then hug the person and like follow through. It's like you've leaned in, look at you hug, sort of thing. It's like, why are you hugging me? It's just like you. So it can be awkward for the other person. That's interesting because go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking about hugs, another thing I've also experienced is because people may feel again awkward, or if they are able to hug me, I've been in some cases where I'm with like friends or colleagues or whatever, and everyone else is hugging, and then they leave me out.
I see.
So that
And in
happens
that
as
case,
well.
what would be your preference?
I'm quite open because, for most of my life I've relied on human touch. That's
Sure.
how I've been carried. That's how I get washed. All of the support has been from human hands, so I don't mind it. I know it's not everyone's comfort to be like having any sort of human touch, but for me, I'm very open to it, and I think it's something that I'm not able to do without any arms, so it's nice to have that human expression and
That's
support.
interesting.
Mm,
I love that.
yeah,
Well, listen, Isaac, you started the pod by saying you were an 8.5. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you're a president. You've been on the catwalk. You've been skiing and skydiving. I follow all your work on LinkedIn and all the things that you talk about. They're pretty dope. They're pretty cool. I'm going to bump it up to a 9. I think you're a 9, bruv.
Ooh.
I think you're a 9. I think you're a 9 out of 10, man. I'm
Mm,
going with 9. Yeah, I'm going with the 9.
yeah, you know what? Let's go with a 9.3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're pushing it now. I bumped you up. You're pushing it now. You're pushing it. You're pushing it. Yeah, we
Well,
go.
I mean, you're
Let's go.
feeding me.
Let's go 9.1. 9.1. How about 9.1?
No. You fed my ego. I was like, nah, 9.3 sounds suitable,
Well, you know
That's
what?
why I went for the 9.3.
You know what? How about we let the viewers and the listeners decide? All right,
Okay,
they
all right.
decide. They'll decide
Yeah.
on the coolness ranking where you land. Listen, I think you're super cool. As I mentioned, I follow a lot of the work that you do and things you talk about. I would say keep it up. I think you give a lot of people. You give a lot of people a bit of fire and energy in their belly
Mm,
because you're talking
mm,
about issues that will affect them, but they may not have the confidence to do it. And I have no doubt that when they read your posts and they see your work, they see you on panels, they feel invigorated by someone like you that's pushing out your chest and talking on issues that, as I mentioned, will be impactful to them too. So, brother, keep doing what you're doing. I'm so glad we got you on the podcast. I knew you were cool before. You're even cooler than I first thought. So this will be the last time you come on the podcast. You won't be coming back on the podcast ever again. This will be the last time you come back on because I can't have you challenging the throne because you're getting a bit too close. You're getting a bit too
No,
close.
well, yeah, well, I mean, soon I'll be the host, and yeah, so. This
Man
will
said,
be my
man said,
pod soon.
man said he's overthrowing me. He's like, you know what? You'll be out of this soon. You'll be out of
Yeah,
this
that's.
soon. You'll be done soon. Fair enough. Listen, blessings for coming onto the podcast, Isaac. Thank you
Yep.
very much for joining us. Just a reminder to once again to all listeners, subscribers, or listeners and watchers, if you're not subscribed, please do so. Go and check out Issac Harvey's work and posts on LinkedIn. If you haven't followed us already, please do follow us. Give us a subscription, give us a like, give us a comment. What in the comments below do you think Isaac should be out of 10? Let us know. And also, who would you like to see on the next episode of Coolest Disabled? Until next time, peace.